Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Alder Hour, your favorite way to end your working day. A belated happy Easter to everyone who celebrates it. It's actually a holiday today in Europe, but here I am anyway, hosting the show because we can't let a week pass without deeply diving into the headlines of the day and having our usual chat about all things recruitment and HR. So this show is part of the Purple Acorn Network. Head over to purpleacornnetwork.com after the show if you want to learn more about the other great shows that they have. Also, make sure you follow Purple Acorn on LinkedIn. It's the best way to make sure you're not missing any of the action, any of the great shows. This episode, and in fact, all of their shows are also available as podcasts. So you can tune in and listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you're watching live, and I sincerely hope that you are, this is an interactive show. Please leave us a message in the comments. We will do our best to read them out and you can join the debate. And tonight it's going to be a great show. We're covering some great topics. So without further ado, I would like to say a big hello to my co-host. Hey, Rona, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Where in the world are you right now?
I'm actually in Panama City in Central America right now.
Wow, amazing. What's it like there?
It is very hot and humid. It's the rainy season, but it's beautiful right now.
Cool. And is it an Easter holiday today, or was that has that already passed?
All of last week, everyone's back to work today, but you know how it is after a full week off, coming back to
Yeah,
work. So
yeah.
yeah.
I know that feeling well. So we were hoping that we were going to get a full complement of hosts this week, but unfortunately Jocelyn can't be with us at the moment. So obviously we're missing her, but the two of us are going to soldier on regardless. And I think one day hopefully we'll all be together again hosting the show. So Rona, what have you got coming up for us a
So
bit later?
I'm talking about AI dolls. I think everyone has seen at least one. So I'm going to talk all about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. More like at least 100. I think every single social feed I have is full of them at the moment. But we'll save that. We'll save that to talk about a little bit later. So let's kind of move into our first bit, which is points and pints. Okay, it's points and pints. Now, if you've not watched the show before, why have you not watched the show before? If you've not watched the show before, in this section, we find two articles that have been in the news this week, and we discuss them while we drink a beverage of our choice. Now, this week, as every week, well, not quite every week, but nearly every week, I'm drinking another alcohol-free beer. And unfortunately, variety is not forthcoming here because I'm still working through last week's box. So I'm still on the BrewDog, but this time I've got my favorite one, which is Punk AF. AF standing for alcohol free. I don't know what you thought it stood for. So let me just open this. Hang on, if I can do this on the camera without going everywhere. There we go. Microphone's getting in the way. This is classic television. It really is. Here we go. I already know what this tastes like, but there we go. Try it anyway. This one's great. Everyone should try this. Rona, what are you drinking in Panama? Some kind of local delicacy?
Yes. So I am drinking. It's called Malta Vigor. It's a malt, non-alcoholic beverage. It's really popular in Latin America and in the Caribbean. But I learned today that it really originates back to Germany, where it's known as Malzbier or Kinderbier, which essentially means it's children's beer. And that's how I know it. That's how I started drinking it when I was a kid. All the adults are drinking, and you get handed one of these because you can't drink alcohol.
Wow, children's beer. That's a crazy concept. I remember when I was a kid in the UK, they used to sell this this kind of like this shandy drink in shops. So it was kind of like beer with lemonade, except it really wasn't. So getting the kids hooked on beer early, obviously. Tell us what it's like. What's it like? What's it like?
It's like really sweet. Wait, what's the description of the flavor? This is slightly sweet, but it's really sweet. It tastes like caramel, and I don't know. According to their website, it's reminiscent of freshly baked bread and roasted grains.
Wow,
Yeah.
sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. I've never seen it anywhere over here, but I will seek some. I will seek some out. Children's beer. Who'd have thought it? So let's move on to our first article. So this was on LinkedIn last week. The title was "The problem isn't that AI will take our jobs; it's that we're doing jobs that shouldn't exist." Now, I know this article quite well because I actually wrote it. So, yes, we've picked one of my articles to talk about on the show this week. And the reason that we're talking about it is it just got a huge amount of traction. Lots of people interacted with it, lots of people read it. So, it's obviously a topic that resonates. So, I thought it was really kind of worth talking about. So, just to give you a kind of a synopsis of the article, first of all, it's not intended to devalue the great work that TA teams all over the world do in any way, but it does kind of point out that actually a lot of the work that happens in recruiting is essentially compensating for processes that don't work and processes that have failed to evolve. And really, my kind of thought behind writing this is the digital revolution's happened. It's made some changes to talent acquisition, but fundamentally, the recruiting process is the same as it was 100 years ago. And what it means is a lot of those systems and processes don't stand up to the world that we now live in. So, one symptom of this is from a candidate perspective, recruiting can be intensely dehumanizing process. I know lots of people looking for jobs at the moment, and they are not fans of the way that the recruiting process works. Also, there are lots of activities that happen in the recruiting process: screening resumes, initial interviews, drafting job descriptions, all those kind of things that you kind of have to step back and question and say, well, actually, could AI now do that better for us? Or actually, if AI can run the recruitment process in a different way, do we have to do all of those things at all? And then it kind of moves on to look at what the future is for recruiters. And one of the things that I hear time and time again is people talk about the importance of the human aspect of recruiting. And I'm not disagreeing with that in any way. However, it's a catch-all term that gets used for lots of things. And I think sometimes it's used for things that people are familiar with and like doing rather than strategically imperatively will do once kind of AI is sort of fully adopted. So it's really about not doing the wrong things faster. And the pandemic kind of really illustrates just how quickly things can change if there's a kind of a really strong imperative to do that, basically. And what I'm saying is that we really need to kind of reinvent talent acquisition from the start and reinvent it around genuine value creation that works for everyone rather than just trying to do the wrong things faster. So that's the essence of the article. I hope you kind of go over to LinkedIn and read it. But I am desperate to know what Rona thinks. What Rona thinks on this particular topic.
Oh, this one's right up my alley. If anyone knows, my background's really in talent operations. So yes, I think back to every single company I've gone to, and this is what people hire me for to fix processes and things like that. We do a lot of work that we're not supposed to be doing, and I liked one of the lines in your article that said we've built careers around managing brokenness, and that's really so. And I won't call out any specific roles because it's really not against the people doing those roles, but we have entire job descriptions and entire roles within TA to manage things that AI and honestly computers should have been doing a long time ago. And again, I won't call out roles because it's really not against the people in these roles. It's not their fault. I think they can be utilized to do way more than what they're doing. And it's high time that we go back to basics, really look at what should we be doing? What do we need to be working on? we're all talking about getting a seat at the table, being strategic, all of that. Well, this is the time now because it's going to be like there's no hiding from this anymore. AI is there for everyone, it's accessible. Every HR tech company is adding it to their tools. So a lot of these things that exist right now, we're not gonna have to do them, and we're gonna have to reimagine how we do TA. And like you said, going back to the human thing, the human aspect of hiring, but like, what is the human aspect of hiring? What should we be doing? I read this article and I was like, yes, yes, yes to every single line. As you were saying it, I loved it.
Yeah, and I think that's a well, thank you, and I think that's a really important question. It's like, what is the human aspect of this, and where does this go? And it's not something I could really get into in much detail in this article because it was long enough already. And I know that there's kind of huge amounts of opinions out there, but I just think it's really important that people go into it and kind of recognize perhaps their biases around things like things that are familiar, wanting to keep the status quo, all of those kind of things. I think it's really kind of important to kind of really approach this sort of next stage of talent acquisition with a really with a really open mind. And we're kind of going back to first principles here. I think a lot of the as you say, a lot of the kind of the things that happen in the recruiting process are because the internet supercharged certain things, and we never really dealt with it properly. So it gave anyone in the world, the ability to apply for a job. It just kind of made things move quicker, and the processes didn't move quicker. And I just think that take a vision for the future. Take a vision where you have a scenario, be it because of agentic AI or whatever, quantum computing or whatever kind of buzz phrase it might be. But you have a scenario where almost a job seeker could access every single open role, and a company could screen every single open job seeker in the world against everything. And if you take that as a kind of a starting point, and I'm not saying that's going to happen in the next 12 months, but if you take that as a starting point, then you really need to kind of build back and think about what the value of recruiting actually is. And there's a huge amount of value there, and a huge amount of things that we could do differently. How does that version of the world sound?
Oh my gosh. I think at the end of the day, even though people are kind of resistant to let go of the things that we've always been doing, if we get to this type of world, it's going to be better for everyone, and it's really what we all want. That's what I think.
No, 100%, 100%. And I think it's going to be a debate that is going to run and run. But at least let's have a proper debate about it. Let's not hold on to things that we just shouldn't be holding on to. I think that's my kind of final word on it. And I think you're probably agreeing with me there. Cool. Let's move on to the other one, which is not an article by me. Everyone be pleased to know. Okay, employers still planning to hire interns, but post-job offer internships decline. So a few things here. First of all, I thought it was actually really good news that people were still hiring interns, with everything that's sort of everything that's going on. Just some stats from the article. It said that 70% of organizations expect to maintain or increase intern hiring. Although larger companies indicate they might plan to trim roles, causing intern hiring to fall a little bit. So, some interesting news. Interesting news there. However, if you're sort of taking that career path away, so you're not actually giving those interns, a job in your company or a career thing, then you kind of do think, what is the what is the point there? And I think that there's a wider thing here about early careers in general. It's like, how do early careers work in an AI world? Because previously you kind of join a company, you learn all these things, you do perhaps a load of jobs that that now could be done by technology, and I think that we need to have, from a broader perspective, we probably need to have a real kind of think and a real shift about how early careers work. Because I still feel that companies that don't invest in this, or if the business as a whole doesn't invest in early careers, 5 or 10 years down the road, we're going to have no one who can do the jobs that need to be done. So it's kind of a big issue. Rona, what do you think on this one?
So I have a lot of thoughts on this one. So first of all, yeah, I totally agree with you. Why are we hiring interns if we're not going to give them a path? I think the point of an internship, at least for me, back when I was doing internships, was to eventually get a job because I wouldn't take internships at places I wouldn't want to work in like after the internship. So that's important. I hope we're paying interns and I hope we're paying them well because it's basically a dead end job. But I think that the main thing for me is, and it's always been my thought, early career work. Why are we giving early career people the jobs that can easily be done by AI or by computers or things like that? That's not the point of early career. I was lucky enough to have really good internships where they like trusted me with actual work, actual projects. Because I mean, early career people, they are smart, they are capable, they just don't have work experience necessarily, but they have all of the training most of the time, right? They have training, they have schooling. So I really think we need to rethink this. And but yeah, definitely don't agree with internships. And I would actually recommend that people don't take internships that don't have a future. Like if you know upfront it's just a dead end thing, spend more time looking for a company that's actually going to invest in you as an intern and not just have you come in and do some busy work that they don't want other people, that no one else wants to do type of thing.
Yeah, I think there's some really great points there, and I think that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about jobs that actually shouldn't exist. And I kind of really am starting to think that if AI can replace your job, then maybe that job shouldn't exist in the first place. Maybe we should be thinking differently about how humans add value to organizations. And I think this is a prime example of you're getting people into your organization with different ways of thinking, and you're giving them essentially sort of dead end jobs, and they're not giving them a career. So it's a bit of a strange one. I think the other one, the one line, I suppose, to finish this bit off, the one line that did stand out for me, which kind of cuts to the chase about a lot of things I don't like about internships. In choosing an intern, the top priorities for employers is a candidate with key skills critical to the role, respondents said. Previous internship experience with the company or in the industry is also important. It's like, really? So you can only be an intern if you've already been an intern in a similar. I mean, this is just like the whole toxic recruitment thing. You have to, the skills, industry experience. I just think it's a terrible line, but I think it sums it up quite well. Rona, what do you think on that one?
Did you see me roll my eyes?
I did,
I was like, I
yes.
literally rolled my, it's like, yes, I don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started on that.
No, I
Definitely.
think it's probably a whole new conversation. What we'll take from this is we're glad that people are still hiring interns. We're disappointed that they don't have any careers, and we really need to rethink the whole thing. So it's quite the situation. So let's move on to the situation room right now. So Rona, Justin's not with us, so you are diving into the depths of Reddit today to find our HR challenge. What do we have this week?
So this one's an interesting one. This person's asking, will I be the a-hole if I block my boss's number? So just to summarize, they work in QA. It looks like a software or IT type of work, and their boss keeps calling them. They're out sick right now with pneumonia, and their boss keeps calling them and asking them, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Texting them, even though, so this person has multiple bosses, which is very common in the tech world. Two of their bosses are on board with them being sick and being allowed to be sick. Thank God there's some humans there. But this other boss is very ignoring that, right? And it's just like, hey, this little small thing. Apparently, this person's team is pretty new, and there's no one else at the company that can do some of these exact things and doesn't have the access in the system. Now, this boss who is newer does have access in the system to do these things, but for whatever reason, they're not doing it and they're just calling and texting this person while they're out sick. So what this person wants to do is block their number, and there's concerns with that because if they block their number, then they won't be able to contact them if it's an actual emergency, things that happen. Um, I don't know. I think this is an issue. As I read this, it's like, well, the person contacting them is the release manager. That is a very stressful job. I've done it. And but as a release manager, you're kind of like a jack of all trades type of person. So you should be able to pick up for people that are out. But let's put all of that aside. As a human, are you really contacting someone who is out sick, like named sickness, and asking them to, hey, fix this, fix this, fix this? I don't think they should block their number, but if they do, I would actually not blame them. What I think is they need to involve HR here. They need to
Mm,
involve a higher manager or something. It's like, guys, this is not acceptable. This is not normal. And you should be able to be out sick and not have to worry. And then whoever is really running this department has to think, because what if this person, God forbid, passes away? Like there has to be someone else who knows how to do this other job. So that's like the deeper issue, as a, like looking at it from an HR perspective. But 100%, they wouldn't be the a-hole if they block the number, but I don't think that's the solution. I think they should
mm.
really contact HR or contact someone else, like hire, about this situation.
Yeah, I could agree with you. I think there's two things here. I think in this particular Reddit situation, their boss is just being, for whatever reason, either he is unreasonable or he's under unreasonable pressure. But there's something kind of systematically wrong going on in that organization. So I think that's the first thing. But I think it kind of does highlight that broader, ever evolving conversation about boundaries between home and work, and all of that kind of stuff, and what's a genuine emergency, and should people be expected to to drop everything and kind of work under those circumstances. And I suppose a couple of interesting kind of examples here. So over the weekend, I finished reading, or rather listening to, the audiobook of the book Careless People, which is all about Facebook, which it's a really, really interesting book. I think Facebook deny most of the things in there happened, but you can read it and make up your own mind. However, the woman who wrote the book talks about, on one occasion, she was preparing a briefing while she was giving birth, which literally I just had to stop the recording and really sort of take that in. And it was just like, I just unbelievable. I mean, literally, yeah. So one extreme, and then I was kind of thinking of, obviously in France they have a law which is the right to disconnect. And I looked into this a little bit, in terms of how it kind of works in practice, particularly sort of as we were looking at this particular article. And the essence of it is that no one can be fired, or no one should be fired, for not answering work calls or emails outside of agreed work times. And there's flexibility around what agreed work times are that can be decided between unions, employers, all those kind of things. But the principle is there, that would obviously really help in this case, because this person couldn't be fired for this kind of responding in a certain way to this unreasonable kind of behavior. So there's a big debate there about where these boundaries are. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, yes, there should be better boundaries. I just, I kind of like understand it. Going back to this Reddit thing, I understand it when there's literally two people at the company that have access to something. Someone needs to make sure that the two people who have access actually know how to do what needs to be done. And it's not acceptable for the other person left to just be like, I'm not going to do it. Personally, I think the person's not doing it because they don't know how to do it. And that's why they're calling the person that's sick. But yeah, looking at, we've definitely created this problem, and I don't know who. I'm saying we because I'm one of those people who has been sick out of like in bed with a laptop working, because only had access or only person who had access or something like that. But I really like the shift that we're going through with laws like the one in France, and just in general the newer generations, how they're addressing work and like really setting those boundaries. And like the person here is like, and like we saw in the comments, like, no, this is not okay, I'm not going to do this. I don't have to be on 24/7. Also, I am sick, I am not going to work right now. So I think as we see more people enter, newer people enter the workforce, things like this are going to change, and hopefully we get laws like that, which we shouldn't need to have those laws, but apparently we do. We should get more laws like that around the world.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues is if you go back several decades, um, going to work was something that you did. For the vast majority of people, you went to an office or you went to a site or you went to a shop, whatever it was, you go to work. And in some ways, you can't physically go to work if you're in hospital with pneumonia. So that was kind of the end of that argument. It just wouldn't happen. But obviously, as technologies progressed, first of all, it was mobile phones, then it was, Wi-Fi everywhere. Then it was everyone's working from home because of the pandemic. So we've got all these systems and processes. So those kind of physical barriers, as it were, have just kind of eroded, and we just carry on as if they haven't. And I think that's probably the sense check that certainly companies need to have when they really think about what is reasonable. Companies always talk about wellness and employee engagement and things like that. And I think this is a great example of not necessarily doing what they say in this case. That's the situation. Thank you, Rona. And now let's move on because we have a guest to talk to. Hi, Kirsten. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Very well, thank you. Some interesting conversations. Interesting
Yeah.
conversations so far. Before we kind of get into things, please introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do.
I'm Kirsten Greggs. Most of the people know me as Track Recruiter. I am a TA consultant, lifelong in terms of my career, TA professional, anything from recruiting to operations. And I'm just happy to be here.
Fantastic. And tell us a bit more about Trap Recruiter. What does Trap stand for example?
Trusted, relationship builder, accountable, and proactive. And it's just my mindset and my methodology towards recruiting and connecting job seekers to the right positions and the right organizations.
Fantastic. So, what's your take on the sort of the current state of recruiting? Because we've had many years of disruption now.
Correct.
All kinds of things are going on. What's your view on everything?
I think this is a great time to reset, to actually resist a complete fracture where things are completely separated. Like, let's stop rejecting brokenness and then let's rebuild. And I think this is a great time to do that. We missed that opportunity. As you just mentioned, we went through pandemic. We missed that opportunity during the pandemic. We've missed that opportunity over the other 25 years that I've been in TA. We've had a lot of chances to make some improvements, a lot of chances to be the true thought leaders that we write in our headlines. So now I think it's a great time that we just really buckle down and do that.
What is it that you think? What is it that people need to do? What needs to change? What do people really need to think about as we're kind of going through this, almost the inevitability of rebuilding TA? I don't think that the old processes and structures are going to survive, all the kind of forces of change that are happening at the moment.
Yes, that's a great question. And it's one that I do think about quite often. Like, what can I do? Like, what's my part in this? And it's going to take a lot more collaboration within talent acquisition centers of excellence, I like to call them. So it's going to take the recruiters, it's going to take the coordinators, it's going to take the sourcers, it's It's going to take talent attraction. It's going to take employer branding. It's going to take all of those parts that make us, it's going to take operations, all those parts of us that make things right. Compliance, even. I mean, compliance is going to be a huge deal, especially as we are continuing to talk about AI. And we cannot be so reactive all the time. Like, that's our main problem. It's like we sit and we wait for something to happen, and they're like, I'm going to fix a problem when something happens, or I'm going to fix this temporary thing, but I'm not going to be proactive in making sure that we can continue operations, making sure that we can get ahead of this, making sure that this issue, if it pops up, or anticipating something that could happen, that we're not going to let it get to where we can't fix it, and then we just have to move on to the next thing. And that seems to be a lot of what happens in talent acquisition. It's, oh, now we're on this trend. Oh, now we're on this tool. Oh, now we're on this. Oh, what is your prediction? Oh, what are we doing now? It's like, calm down. Like, we haven't even completed this one task, and you're moving on to the next one already.
No, exactly. I'm surprised, actually. It kind of struck me when I said it earlier that no one's started writing about the impact of quantum computing. We're bored of AI. Let's move on to the next thing. No, I think you summed it up quite well there. What would you say that? Because this certainly comes out in your company name. What would you say the human aspects are? What do people really to be doubling down on and looking at the skills in terms of, the unique thing that humans bring to the recruiting process?
It's just that. It's that simple. Keeping the human in the process. Stop trying to replace the humanness. Yes, automation helps us be more effective. Automation gives us the opportunity to do for lack of a better term, feely stuff, to do the stuff that only a person can do, that only the cues that a person can pick up on, all of those things. So allow automation to help you be more efficient. Allow some of those, quick decisions, those if and, those either or type of things that, someone smarter than me programs stuff to do. You're like, let that be done, but let us make the ultimate decision. Because even with those if ands, even with those either ors, someone's eyes still have to look at that whatever decision needs to be made to ensure and to, cross check that this is aligned, that this is the best, this is going to produce the best outcome, whatever the case may be. So just keep the human in it. I don't know why we're so much in a rush to remove the humanness. And everyone, talks about it. We like to use these buzzwords, like to use the terms, but you must keep a human in the loop when you're dealing with technology. You must keep a human in the loop when you're talking about talent acquisition. So.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're talking about adding a human context to a very human decision that involves humans, and it's always been the one thing that makes talent acquisition different from all these other things. It's like, we're not selling a product; it's humans who can make decisions. As someone once said to me, talent acquisition is the only kind of business that involves selling where the product can change its mind about wanting to be sold.
Yes, absolutely.
Summed it up really well. What about kind of personal branding? I mean, how kind of important is that? How does that work from a job seeker and a recruiter perspective in the world that we now live in?
Oh, I struggle with this because at times personal branding seems to take the place of your knowledge base and the place of the problem you're going to solve in the organization. When it becomes just about who you are and what you're bringing to the table, or what you think these folks want you to bring to the table, and you've created this persona, I say this as Trap Recruiter, by the way, you created this persona, you created this idea, this brand, you created this image of yourself around you only, and not necessarily your ability to do the job or to collaborate. And we see this quite often. I just wrote a piece about the other day because I was was annoyed last week. And I wrote this piece about, marketing over mission. Like that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
And vibes over vision. Like we're really just, it's like, if it's pretty, if it makes sense, if it's pretty and if it's funny, or if it catches our attention, we're all bought in. Forgive me, Mom, because it was just Easter yesterday, but I used to have this conversation with my mother around church. And there are a lot of preachers who are very, eloquent and very bombastic, and they can get your emotions stirred up and, you're excited. And she would come and say, "Oh, it was a great church today. Church was great." Well, and I'm like, "What was the message?" And sometimes she would be like, "Oh, you know what? I don't remember," because it was all about the show. It was all about the vibes. It was all about the image. So I feel the same way about some of the information that's going out to job seekers, specifically in terms of what makes them attractive to an organization. And one thing that I like to tell job seekers is the same thing that makes you attractive to employer is the same thing that makes an employer attractive to you. And that I get on recruiting professionals a great deal when they complain about all of the, tips and tricks that job seekers do to, again, get in front of them. And I'm like, you do the same thing. And not only that, you train them, you taught them how to do that. Don't get mad when they use AI to write their resume, because exactly. You used AI to write your job description. And it's the same thing. They took your job description, they uploaded it into whatever tool they were using and said, how do I match this? And how can I match this better? And that's why you got what you got. You got, if it's junk, it was junk in, and that's why you got junk out. So we have a long way to go, but I do think we're going to get there. Personal branding is important, and especially in AI. And I'll say, especially in a time where more people are using tools, where more people are doing what I just said, taking their resume, putting it into something and saying, here, apply, and letting a machine do those things, or not adding themselves to it. I think that's where personal branding comes in. I think that ability to be able to still find your voice when you're getting assistance, when you're using a technological assistant to do things, is where you're going to stand out. And it's not a matter of, do you wear pink every day, or do you call yourself trap recruiter, or are you the this maven and the this evangelist? Like, honestly, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think unfortunately we kind of live in this sort of social media world. I was doing some work around YouTube yesterday, and YouTube is an important information source for many people, but actually the videos that get presented are the people who understand the how the algorithm works, rather than people necessarily with the best content. I mean, there's some caveats to that, but I kind of sums it up very well. And I suppose that we need to get to a point where people can really understand the skills they've got and how those skills can really help them do the job that's there. So I think that's kind of probably probably the key part of it, but certainly easier said than done in the current situation. I had another question for you. I looked at I don't know if it was the last episode of your podcast or a recent episode of your podcast. You were talking about you had a guest on talking about pivoting, and I very, very aware there are lots of people out there, particularly people kind of in their late 40s and their 50s, who are having to leave their role and having to sort of pivot their career at a time when they never thought they would have to do that. Is that your kind of experience? Is that what you're seeing? And what advice could we give to people in that situation?
I'm seeing a great deal of that. And here I live in the DC area, and it's not just because the folks are a certain age. It's because they've been at a job for a certain amount of time, and that's been their only role, especially those that work in the federal government, or those that work, federal government adjacent, because, government contractors, defense contractors, consulting companies, they're being affected too by, work shutdowns, work slowdowns, people being told they have until this date to find a job. I spoke with someone Friday even who reached out to me who is considered essential, but they already have a date for when their job doesn't exist anymore because they work for in one of the agencies that was like almost
Right.
all but eliminated. So like, and even that kind of like carrying that kind of weight and that kind of burden, for the remainder of your time, now you have some type of, you're carrying survivor's remorse because the
Yeah.
people that work with you and the people that are part of your management that you manage, that you lead, they're leaving, in these staggered dates. And then you're going to be the one that turns the lights off at the end. And by the way, you're such a good leader that now you're worried about them. And, your date's not really that far away. Like it sounds far away, but it's not really that far away when it comes time to think about when are you going to get a job. And then you have people all coming from the same, industry or the same skills, coming with the same skill sets, and they're going to be applying for and trying to land the same jobs. So the access and availability is been a lot of there's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of like fear because you have people that have not looked for a job in 20 years, 13 years, 10 years, even folks even haven't looked for a job within 5 years. Things have changed
Yeah.
drastically in 5 years. And we're in a situation where you've got, in a lot of companies, 5 generations of people trying to work together. We've never had that before.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a much changed world. So is there any advice that you can give people?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very long conversation.
Advice is, I kind of sprinkled it in there. Especially for folks who know when their last day is, or they have some idea of when they need to start transitioning, like start now, because it's not that far away. Job seeking is a circle. It's not a line. It's not a point to point. Like you're always in some type of loop. So start with building your network or even reaching out to your network. I tell people to network from the inside out. So the people that are closest to you, and then start to work your way out of that. Because again, though your next door neighbor, your cousin, your kid's coach, the person that you talk to at the grocery store, any of those people are the ones that can connect you to your next role, or at least say, hey, this job is available, or hey, this is that. And it's not just a matter of you going on LinkedIn and setting up an alert, or even typing in your current job title and thinking that's the way that you're going to get connected to your next job, the most efficient and the quickest way.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said there about those weaker ties in your network, because they're not, everyone you work with is looking for the same job as you. So it's kind of important advice. Kirsten, thank you very much
thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, and we are going to move on to trending or ending.
Thank you.
Hey, Rona, welcome back. I have been looking forward to this conversation all day. So kick us off. Action figures.
All right. If you've been on social media lately, you've probably seen it. Your friends turning themselves into plastic mini me, like dolls, using AI. Is it cute? I guess some people say it is. It's creative for sure. But honestly, I part of me gets the appeal. It's playful, it's nostalgic. It's this weird little thing like reminding you of your childhood, and it's fun, powered by tools that everyone has accessible. Is it harmless though? Not exactly. What really, like, it started out as a trend, make yourself a Barbie, with ChatGPT, has turned into like the perfect case study for how fast we normalize questionable tech. Because with all this of AI, we've talked about it many times. People like to forget it, but there's this massive power that we're draining from data centers, right? It's trained on who knows what data. And let's be honest, it's churning out like glitchy, stereotype ridden results, and people are liking it, but there's concerns with AI, right, in general.
Yeah.
Um, these trends are designed to go viral. Like they tap into your vanity and into your FOMO. And that's why most people click on it and do it without even thinking. It's just this cool thing that everyone wants to do. It's clearly trending. It's all over social media, even LinkedIn. Like when you see things cross over from like Instagrams of the world over to LinkedIn, you're like, okay, it's trending. But should it be trending? Do we care about the environmental impact, the privacy concerns, the fact that most of these tools are trained on data that no one really consented to? And like, what are they doing with this data that we're giving it to? Um, I'll be honest, this is probably the one AI trend that I have not jumped on and probably won't. Just something about seeing myself as a doll feels kind of creepy to me. And apparently, I'm not alone because I did this poll earlier today on LinkedIn, just asking people, like, or have you jumped on this trend? And as of a few minutes ago, out of 47 votes, 60% said that they have not jumped on the trend. And in the comments, people were saying that they weren't planning on, right? So maybe it's not as popular as it seems. That's what I started thinking. Like maybe it's just being pushed by the algorithms and we're assuming that everyone's doing it. But like based on that very anecdotal, not scientific poll, everyone isn't on board with this. Like, what about you, Matt? Can we find your doll version floating around somewhere on the internet?
No, you can't. You can't, because I would say I haven't done it. But I wonder whether out of those 60% of people, I did try and make one, but I just didn't like it. So I never
Yeah.
published it. I claimed on your poll that I was sort of not interested or taking part in this. So I wonder if there's a bit of that. And it wasn't, dodgy AI skills. I just couldn't find anything that I liked. And I think as someone wrote in the comments on your post, everyone had a cup of coffee and a laptop. It's like, are we all that similar? Are they the tools that we use? Yeah, you raised some really interesting points there. I think when you were talking about privacy in particular, it kind of reminded me of a lot of the quizzes that used to float around on Facebook when it first got popular, that it turned out were being used to harvest people's data. It's like, tell me your mother's maiden name and where you were born, and I will tell you your star sign or whatever. So yeah, I think it's kind of an example where people get very excited about something and don't actually think twice about where the way that they're describing themselves is going. And it's obviously feeding the AI and how it learns and how it thinks. There's also the kind of the annoyance perspective of it. It was quite funny the first few times, but they're just like the long tail of it of people who've just discovered it in my feed is annoying. We're also now seeing the second generation where people are doing different things with it, like making their model run away from the packet because they've done it in video, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's nothing new. We've seen this sort of thing time and time again. So I think we can always expect these kind of trends to happen. TikTok is built on things like this, let's face it, and this is the kind of the middle-aged version of it, on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is. I'm going to highlight a positive. Because I'm not disagreeing with any of the points that you make, but for a lot of people, it's the first time they've used an LLM. It's the first time they've used ChatGPT. The first time they've seen what it can do, how it does it, and how it works. And as we've said, we're sort of facing a future of this technology dominating our careers. So I think from that perspective, it's good that people have actually had the chance to, if they've not been on there before, if they've not seen what it can do, if they didn't know that it did images, what a great opportunity to find out. So, I'll take a positive for it. I think it's run its course now, but we'll probably have it for at least another 3 months, and then, someone else will discover it, and someone will make a full life-size version of their doll at a conference or something.
Oh my gosh, please don't. HR Tech, if you're listening to this, we don't want this at a conference. We don't.
Someone will do it. I can almost guarantee that someone will do it. But it's like, what is it about these kind of trends? I mean, I said, I sort of joked that TikTok was built on this kind of thing, but it is. What is it that makes people join in, do you think? What is it that makes these things really go viral?
It's the FOMO and it's the algorithms pushing it because like you see when these trends start, the fact that you keep seeing them over and over again isn't that everyone is doing it. It's that for whatever reason, LinkedIn has decided that this is what they want to show us all. And so has Instagram and every other social media where it's at. And then it just gets posted and that's all you see, because a lot of the people that I follow, they post every day, like you, like I do. We post every day. I haven't been seeing my regular feeds post, but I've been seeing people that I didn't even know I was connected to, their dolls.
Hmm.
So I think it's a mix of that. And then, of course, if you hardly ever post and you post something and it's a trend, then it's going to be shown. So then more people see it and then it's like, oh, I want to try it. I did like your positive point, and Danny Herrera also said that on my post earlier today, that, okay, the good thing is people are using AI. Hopefully they, now that they've seen how it works, start using it for other things, and not just for this trend. But I really think the algorithms are behind these things trending because they push it, and then you get FOMO and you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot to answer for. Can we predict or start the next trend? Do you think could we do that? Because someone who started this? That's my question. Who was kind of patient zero for this? Who actually made up that prompt? That's the kind of investigation I want to see. I want someone to do some kind of TED talk about where this actually came from.
ChatGPT doesn't know because I asked it
Ah.
where this started, because I wanted to know too. It's like, did this start by a company? Are they trying to push something? But like, I wasn't getting any answers that were worth anything. So I'm not going to bring that to the show if I'm not 100% sure and I can't verify. But yeah, I don't know where it started. If anyone knows, please let us know. I want to know where it started.
And I think the trending or ending conversation, I think this one is eventually ending, but I can
Hopefully.
already see the one that's gathering momentum now, which is asking ChatGPT about what it knows about you and your innermost fears and things like that, and people are starting to post that one, which is probably even more scary from a privacy perspective. So yeah, I think these are going to run and run, unfortunately.
When I saw that one about people asking ChatGPT, I immediately went into my memory to see what it had that I could delete.
Yeah.
Because that's like, I don't want it to know. Like, I'll ask my friends what they think about me. I don't want ChatGPT to know this much.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point, because there are two things about ChatGPT that everyone should know. First of all, you can see its memory about you, and you can delete that. So I think that's the first thing. And also, I saw something the other day saying about, I don't like the tone that ChatGPT takes. It's always kind of positive and all this sort of stuff. You can actually go into the settings and change the tone. So you don't have to do a prompt to say, you are a horrible critic of me, do this kind of stuff. You can actually change it in the settings. So if you've not looked into the settings in ChatGPT, I would recommend that you do, because you may find some interesting stuff there.
And
So
did you see the chat? There are some people having some mix. There's some people who've tried it. Julianne tried it but didn't like it, and like Orlando did try it. He did one as well. So it's mixed. It might be kind of trending.
yeah, I think it's it's trending and ending and then retrending and re-end, and this is just the circle of everything that we've had ever since they invented Facebook. So yeah, repeat ad nauseum, unfortunately. Rona, thank you very much. I know that you're traveling, you're in a difficult room sound wise, and you've had some microphone problems. So thank you so much for being with us and sharing your thoughts. That brings us to the end of another show. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in and left a comment, and everyone who's watching this on catch up, whatever you want to call it. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your attention. So, as I said at the beginning, make sure you look at the Purple Acorn website, look at the Purple Acorn LinkedIn page. So many other great shows on there, including the HR Morning Show, My First Job, From the Desk, some really, really great stuff. If you want to listen to any of my longer form interviews, you can go to Recruiting Future, wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, you can also get this show and all the other Purple Acorn shows as a podcast as well. The Alder Hour will be back this time next Monday. I'm already looking forward to it. This is Matt Alder, clocking out.